I want to start this off by saying that I, I I may have. Now, I didn't know which jerseys Ben was sending me today, so basically it was I've already arranged which ones I'm going to buy, and he's already sending them to me, and it was basically all right, just whatever as you're going through them, whichever ones you find first, go ahead and send them. All right. I had no idea. Now, Philadelphia, what I'm wearing isn't reverse retro because I don't have the reverse retro yet. What I have instead is the stadium jersey, right there, the stadium jersey from 2019. And I realized as after I, when I brought them down, cataloged them, put them away, I went, oh, I've already done the previews for most of these teams. So, apologies to Flyers fans that I don't have it, but anyways, we'll move along. And we'll talk about how Philadelphia is going to be one of those interesting teams this season. So, 98 points in 2017-2018, 82 points in 2018-2019, and prorated out, they had 106 points over an 82-game schedule if you prorate out how many points they had, how many games they played. And Philadelphia looked great, but now they have to show that one up, one down, which is right here on that glass half empty. That's all I have for glass half empty is the up year, down year. That's the key thing they have to avoid is that they do tend to fall back. And this is where their coach, Alain Vigneault, people will say, well, yeah, after he's been there for a while, things do tend to kind of even out. I don't necessarily agree with that. He was pretty good in Vancouver. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this and say that, yes, I think Philadelphia can be good 2 years in a row. I think it's possible. I think it's even probable. Now, out of their lineup, they lose Niskanen, Pitlick, Grant, and Thompson. Now, Grant and Thompson, they were just pure rentals, right? Pitlick, 1 year there, he's out. These are replaceable pieces, but Niskanen does hurt. His play helped to elevate the play of Provorov this year. And so it's a matter of, okay, so can Provorov stay at that level next season? And are they going to miss Niskanen? Now, under the big ads, I've got Gustafsson. Gustafsson, in all likelihood, helps to replace Niskanen. Can Gustafsson get back the scoring he had a couple years ago? I don't know about that, but it does help to mitigate the loss of Niskanen. But when you look at it, Philadelphia didn't really make any other big additions. They bring back Elliott as the backup. Things stay relatively the same. And when you look at the team's record for last year, it makes sense that they would keep things mostly the same. You got a lot of kids coming into the lineup too. So you can just kind of roll with some of those younger players and hope that Frost takes a bigger role and that he still qualifies as a rookie next year, that he won't qualify the year after that. That's the hope, right? Well, he wouldn't anyways, because he wouldn't qualify anyways. But for Philadelphia, you want this to be the year where Frost takes that next step. And of course, the big question mark becomes Nolan Patrick and whether or not he comes back to play, because that could be their ace in the hole. There are a lot of benefits to be had here, and Lindblom should be back and healthy too. So a lot of reasons to be optimistic if you're a Flyers fan, which if you're a Flyers fan may feel kind of odd at this stage. So the Hockey News has the Flyers at 5th on their Hockey News power ranking. That's across the entire NHL. Sports Forecaster has them finishing 5th in the Metro. I have them tagged as 1st in their division. So we'll see. I share the optimism of the Hockey News. There may be those watching this and say, yeah, I could see them finishing 5th. I could see them finishing 5th, I guess, but I don't think that's going to happen. But again, the Flyers are unpredictable, so it makes sense that the predictions are kind of all over the place because it depends on how you look at it. And for me, they should be able to maintain what they did last year. They spent a lot of time towards the end of the year at number 1 on my power rankings, and they just looked like the best team in the league. I think the break hurt them, and then their offense just wasn't quite clicking. Of course, Konechny wasn't clicking in the playoffs. That's not going to continue through this regular season, so they should be fine. Too low on the scoring list, all of them during the playoffs. In the play-in round, the round robin, and then in against Montreal, and then the Islanders. It was just everybody had trouble except Kevin Hayes. He was one that didn't get the memo that they weren't supposed to score goals. So too low on their scoring list. I have Farabee, who in 52 games had 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points. I think he's going to play a greater role this year as JVR may end up being jettisoned at some point, right? I would think that with JVR being a healthy scratch at times during the playoffs, if they can find a taker for his contract, I think they probably will. And not just for the contract necessarily, but because I don't know he's going to have a spot in the lineup. Voracek, 69 games, 12 goals, 44 assists, 56 points. Inconsistent last year, and I think his numbers should come back up. He's not that old. His numbers should come back up, and I thought about putting him or Giroux up. I didn't want to put both, but they are connected to one another, so it's likely that if Voracek's numbers come up, so does Giroux's. And the rookie to watch, as I said, is Morgan Frost. Goals for. They finished 7th in the league with 3.29 per game. Goals against, 2.77, which is 7th. Their defense was solid, and their goaltending was as well. And this is one of those keys to making sure Philadelphia doesn't go through the one up, one down scenario. They have to make sure their defense and goaltending holds, which it should, right? Their core 6. So again, I like to get guys who are 26 and younger for this as the future, that core that you're going to keep, and it's gonna get you right through the future. And so I had to kind of cheat on the forwards a bit. So Konechny is one of those younger players. Couturier and Hayes are both, I believe, 28 years of age. So yes, they're below 30, but they're at that stage where players will sometimes have those drops, and those drops are usually offensively anyways, late 20s, early 30s. And so Couturier and Hayes, though, absolutely parts of that core. And Hayes with that contract, right? I don't know that contract would be value anywhere but Philly. It's worked out very well for Philadelphia, and so it's a value contract at this stage. On the blue line, Provorov and Sanheim. No problem finding young defensemen. And of course in net, it's Carter Hart. Because of course it's Carter Hart. Who else would it be for Philadelphia? And Hart gives them that stability in net this team hasn't had in a very long time. He is that young goaltender that they built from within. And I'm thinking, what was it, Hextall? Might be the last time that we had a goaltender drafted by Philly and brought along by Philly. Hextall, maybe Lindbergh right before him. So yeah, it feels like it's been a while since we saw a real star goaltender come in that was drafted and built up by Philadelphia. I guess Chechmanek, but Chechmanek when he came over was older as well. Anyways, so Vigneault is the coach. You're going to get split opinions on Vigneault and how good he may be. The general manager, Chuck Fletcher. I think Fletcher's done a good job thus far in Philadelphia. Again, he replaced Hextall, of course, as the general manager, and seemed to do things that the team liked a little bit more than Hextall did. And what'll be interesting is whether or not leaving things the same helps a power play that was mediocre at 20.8%, that was 14th. Their penalty kill was good, 81.82% at 11th. I don't think I covered the power play or penalty kill, so I'm just circling back to make sure I did. But their special teams are decent if they bring those numbers up to excellent. Say like Oiler levels, that makes the odds of them finishing first even better. Glass half full. Well, where do you start? Do you start with Carter Hart or do you start with that young core? They don't really have anybody they have to worry about casting off. Even though Giroux is one of the older players, I don't think there's any danger of him going anywhere over the next few years. And this is a pretty stable team. That stability is important. And I think Couturier, as being arguably one of the best, if not the best, two-way center right now in the game, that's fantastic as well. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to think Philadelphia doesn't jump back next year, though the glass half empty, you can say up year, down year, they're due for the down year, right? Next big hype, I went with Cam York as the next guy who's going to be the big hype. Blue liner, I'll say that after Frost has come up and the fans are kind of like, all right, so he's a regular. Who's the next guy? I think it'll probably be Cam York. Although there are Flyers fans who are already pretty stoked to see what Cam York can do at an NHL level soon. Their record, well, it was great in a couple of months of the season. They were 5-5-1 in October, so iffy start. Then they were 10-2-4 in November, 7-6 in December, 5-4-2 in January, and then February they just lit it up. They were 10-3 before finishing it out in March 4-1. So they were 14-4 over their last 18 games. They were on a mission. I know they'd won 9 out of 10 at one point. I think they'd won 10 out of 11 at one point as well. This was a team that was playing very, very well. And so at the time of the NHL shutting things down in mid-March, I thought that was the team that was hurt the most by it. If they can get back into this form this year over a 56-game schedule, this might be your dark horse for the Stanley Cup. Absolutely. Now, the record against teams in their division, they were 2-1 against Boston, 2-0 against Buffalo, 2-1 against the New Jersey Devils. Against the Islanders, they didn't win. Now, what's interesting is when I did the Islanders video about the Flyers, I mentioned the Islanders never beat the Flyers. So I'm just going to say the Flyers never beat the Islanders, went 0-2-1, and then Islander fans can go, yeah, that's right, but they probably won't be watching this video. So me admitting, yeah, no, the Islanders went 3-0 against Philly, they just won't see it. When I make those numerical errors in the videos, I kind of may have the I may apologize, but I move on. I'm not going to redo an entire video for one number being wrong. I'll just say, yeah, I apologize, that was wrong. Against the Rangers, Flyers were 3-0. Against Pittsburgh, 1-1-1. And against Washington, they were 3-0-1. So against teams in their proposed division, 13-5-3. This is a team that absolutely 100% is able to play against these teams, except the Islanders. You take out that 0-2-1, they turn 13-3-2 against everybody else. So maybe every team needs to call the Islanders and say, hey, so how do you beat Philly? Because the rest of us aren't quite sure on that. Although Pittsburgh may have an idea since they won 2 out of 3. But anyways, there you go. How do you feel that the Flyers are going to do this year? 2020, 2021. And yes, we still refer to it as 2020, 2021, even though the season would start in 2021. We did it in 95. We did it in 2013. We're doing it again here. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And yes, for Flyers fans, it's been Flyers Day on the channel, hasn't it? All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am running out of teams that I can now do previews for that are not in the divisions that we're not quite 100% sure on who's going to be in which division. So it's going to be interesting when I get there. But we know who's in this division, in all likelihood anyways. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon.